The Dresden class consisted of 2 cruisers of the Imperial German Navy. The preceding 3 classes of cruiser had been relatively large, numerically speaking, but the Dresdens marked a change in this pattern, both as more resources were diverted to other classes, such as capital ships, and also because light cruiser design and technology was advancing rapidly every year at this time. Whilst these and their predecessors are often classed as light cruisers, the light cruiser was a relatively new concept. Previously, cruisers had either been armoured or protected, the former with an armoured belt, the latter with a turtle-back deck for keeping machinery and magazines safe. However, the introduction of ships in the protected cruiser style, with good speed, long range, and many lighter guns, but equipped with a thin belt, led to the rise of the light armoured cruiser, then shortened to the light cruiser. But the Dresdens still only carried a protected deck, so whether they are truly light cruisers or protected cruisers is an open question. Due to the advancing pace of naval design, the mid-1900s run of German light cruisers tended to be iterative improvements on the class built the year or two before. In this case, the predecessor units were the 4-strong Königsberg class. The 2 ships, SMS Dresden and SMS Emden, would be laid down in 1906, launched in 1907 and 1908 respectively, and commissioned the year following their respective launches. Compared to the Königsbergs, the Dresdens were a knot faster at 24 knots and about 10 feet longer, 1 foot wider, and drew about 1 foot more in draft. In a move that would find echoes a decade later in the US Navy, the 2 ships were built with different engine plants for comparison purposes, the Dresden with turbines, and the Emden with vertical triple expansion engines. The main armament remained the same as the Königsbergs, with 10 single 105mm or 4.1-inch guns, laid out with 3 per broadside, and 2 forward along with 2 aft, with these latter pairs mounted side by side. Also the same was the pair of lightweight torpedo tubes, 1 per side submerged beneath the waterline. However, the Dresdens also possessed a secondary battery of 8 single 52mm cannon, a feature only present on some of the Königsbergs. The armoured deck varied in thickness depending on where you were on the ship, between 2 to 3 inches at the most protected, thinning down towards the ends. Unlike most of the Imperial German Navy, which was concentrated in the High Seas Fleet, the Dresdens were given relatively rare overseas postings. Emden was sent directly to the East Asia Squadron, whilst Dresden was sent to the Caribbean a little bit later on. With the outbreak of World War I making a lone return home impossible, Dresden instead ducked into the Pacific to link up with the East Asia Squadron under Admiral von Spee, but there was to be no reunion of the class, for Emden had been detached on a raiding mission before the squadron crossed the Pacific. Dresden was therefore part of the Battle of Coronel, which resulted in the destruction of Admiral Craddock's hastily formed squadron, and then it was also involved in the Battle of the Falkland Islands, where 2 battle cruisers turned the tables on von Spee's formation. Of the German ships, Dresden was the only one to escape being run down, and would evade the British for several months, until, with her engines worn out, she was forced to put into a Chilean port. The British worked out where she was, and turned up with HMS Kent, an armoured cruiser, and HMS Glasgow, one of Dresden's former opponents at the Falkland Islands. Despite it being a technically neutral port, the British ships promptly attacked, and the captain of the Dresden ordered the ship abandoned and scuttled, as he was outnumbered, outgunned, outranged, and if he tried to move, he would also be outrun. As the ship's boats withdrew, the ship exploded, although if this was the result of scuttling charges or British fire remains unclear. The Germans naturally protested the attack, but with Chile being firmly within the British sphere of influence, the government declined to pursue the matter with any great vigour. Emden, meanwhile, had been having a great time, which will be the subject of its own video, capturing and sinking ships all over the Indian Ocean, including taking out the Russian cruiser Zemshug, which was a survivor of the Battle of Tsushima, and in a slightly ironic foreshadowing of events in World War II, it converted a prize into an armed merchant raider named Cormoran, before Emden itself ran into HMAS Sydney and was forced to beach itself after a fierce gunnery duel.
That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you have a comment or suggestion for a ship to review, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to comment on the pinned post for dry dock questions.